meeting to order. Please rise, salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Law and has been duly advertised in the newspaper as an official meeting. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella.
Present.
Mr. McCarron. Mrs. Barocas.
Present.
Dr. Osmond.
Present.
Mrs. Rivera.
Present.
Mrs. Katz.
Present.
Mr. Palmieri.
Present. I need a motion for approval of the agenda with addendums.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron. Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Dr. Osmond.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I now turn the meeting over to Ms. Permilli for her superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Palmieri, and good evening, everyone. A few things to share this evening, but first, as always, I'd like to begin with our high school board rep reports. So tonight I'd like to begin with Memorial, and Colin Williams, could you come to the podium, please?
Good evening, Mrs. Permilli, members of the Central Administration staff, and Board of Education members. My name is Colin Williams, and I am the Student Council President at Jackson Memorial High School. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm excited to share what's been happening at our school as we end the first marking period of the 2024-2025 school year. Last week was Week of Respect at JMHS. As a school, we stood up against bullying on Monday, wearing one day promoting bullying prevention, where we wore blue and showed a 2-minute video of stomping out bullying. On Tuesday, we wore sweats to sweat out bullying. And on Wednesday, no drama pajama day. Thursday, it was being upstander day, wear lead apparel. And finally, on Friday, we wore school spirit/class colors to promote a positive school climate. The freshman and sophomore classes were busy last Friday when they hosted a fall tailgate for the Memorial football game against Donovan and a boys soccer game against Lawrence. The students had fun playing cornhole games, pumpkin painting, pizza, and much more. The event was well attended and fun for all. Mrs. Permilli and the Student Council met on Wednesday, October 2nd, to discuss the school plans for the school year. Mrs. Permilli explained the importance of legacy, tradition, and providing leadership for younger students. Also, she shared in our excitement in celebrating the 60th anniversary of JMHS. We thank her for taking the time to come out and meet with the Student Council and listen to our feedback. She asked for and received a multitude of suggestions on how to make our school a better and safer place for all students. As homecoming approaches rapidly, the school hallways look great. Each student council group decorates their respective hallways to excite students and promote school spirit. The fall pep rally will take place this Friday, October 18th, for the entire student body outside in the football stadium. Each class will select 8 boys and 8 girls, which can participate in a tug of war to see which class is the strongest. The annual homecoming football game and senior band night is this Friday against Brick Township at 6:30. All classes will be building banners and having a banner contest that will be judged at the football game. Also at the game, the homecoming court will be presented. To celebrate our 60th anniversary, the Student Council will decorate the Memorial Cafeteria, which will be used as a staging area to give tours of our school. Oh, I lost my spot. Have yearbooks available and several picture boards for fans to view before they enter the game. Current members of the Student Council will look forward to mingling with past alumni and trading stories about JMHS. The homecoming dance will be on Saturday, October 19th from 6 to 9 p.m. The homecoming dance will include a DJ, delicious food, and many other activities. Thank you to the PTSN for your incredible support and decorations. We couldn't have done it without your help. Starting this week, the Student Council will host Fun Fridays during Common Lunch. This gives students the chance to collaborate with friends and make new friends. In the auditorium, there will be a showing of Halloween-related movies. The weight room is open to students, and a ping pong tournament will take place. Fall sports season is coming to a close, with each team putting in max effort right up to the end. All fall teams have had success and look forward to the end of the season tournament play and states. Finally, next week kicks off Red Ribbon Week. To start off, freshmen will have an assembly titled Out of Thin Air, What You Need to Know About Vapes. This presentation is to bring awareness to the negative impacts vaping has on students. Our Jag Pause Prevention Club will also host a substance trivia game in the hallways. Students can spin one of our substance wheels and answer trivia questions for prizes during Common Lunch A and B. This activity will take place on Friday, October 25th. Tigger Stavola has also sponsored Rob Holla to present an anti-vaping presentation to our sophomore class on October 30th during third period. Not to mention, we will also have therapy dogs coming to the building during Common Lunch on different days throughout October as well. I want to express my gratitude to Mrs. Permilli and the Board of Education for your ongoing support and for allowing me to share this update tonight. I look forward to providing more exciting news about Jackson Memorial High School in next month's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin, and I'm really looking forward to attending the homecoming and the 60th anniversary celebration this Friday night. It's going to be a lot of fun, and the weather's going to cooperate too, so it should be wonderful. Okay, let's move on to Liberty's report. Katie is busy at a game this evening, so subbing in for Katie, Eric Yishi has graciously agreed to give the Liberty report this evening, so come on up to the podium.
Good evening, Superintendent Permilli, Board of Education members, and guests. Thank you for extending me this opportunity to speak on behalf of Jackson Liberty. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Eric Yeshi, a senior at Jackson Liberty, and I'm honored to share with you a little bit about what the students and staff have been up to since last month. Our sports teams are wrapping up their seasons, but have given us a great deal to remember. Our boys and girls soccer teams have been working hard on and off the field and recently had very successful car washes. Delaney Spaltoff also broke the Liberty School record for goals in a career when she scored her 16th goal of the season, giving her 53 for her career. The football team recently had an impressive 42-0 win over Monmouth Regional. We've had some other standout performances as well. Our field hockey goalie, Delia Hassel, made her way into the record books after recording her 200th save. Not to be outdone, our girls volleyball libero, Alayla Torres, hit 200 digs. Both accomplishments represent the hard work and dedication of these devoted athletes, and we are so proud of them. Last meeting, we mentioned the ambitious efforts of our Lions boys basketball team's fundraiser supporting Oceans of Love. I'm thrilled to report that they surpassed their original goal, raising over $1,500. As promised, Coach Connor dyed his hair pink for the cause and will keep it that way for the entirety of October. The team and many students presented the check to the nonprofit organization during our common lunch this past week and were moved by the generosity of our community. Speaking of making contributions, Jackson Liberty is answering the call for other relief efforts as well. As many of our southern states have been devastated by the recent hurricanes, many JLHS staff members have been looking for ways to help. Ms. Thacker and Mr. Noble have taken the lead and organized a supply drive. They've collected canned goods, fresh fruit and veggies, cold weather clothing, tents, hand warmers, and camping gear. Spruce Pine is almost completely cut off from aid because of the road closures, and many people are still living outside in that area, some of them families with children. Mr. Noble and Officer Conti will be piloting a flight down tonight to Spruce Pine, North Carolina, to personally deliver the supplies to those in need. Mr. Noble has promised to take some pictures to show at the next board meeting. Although we are helping those across the country, we are not forgetting about those close to home. The class of 2025 recently partook in a roadside cleanup, and our Interact Club is preparing for their first beach sweep of the year. It is inspiring to see them make a difference. Other people who have stood out for their countless contributions so far this year are Tyler Moreo and Ryan Idle. Congratulations to them both for being named our first 2 seniors of the month. Additionally, we would like to recognize Delaney Spaltoff and Donovan Louis-Jacques for being September Athletes of the Month, and Ms. Lackey for being Liberty's September Lion of the Month. There has been a lot to celebrate with our performing arts programs in full swing. Our marching band continues to build their legacy as they once again earn the judges' praise, receiving the highest overall score in the recent competition. JTV's 4th annual Spooktacular was a huge hit, showcasing many amazing performances from our students. The at-lib players, accompanied by the Liberty Choir, are spending countless hours perfecting their upcoming show, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. We are looking forward to packing the auditorium for those early December performances. As the first marking period is coming to a close, we have many spirit weeks to keep the energy heightened. We recently had many students and staff participate in our Week of Respect. As a supplemental activity to that focus, the Liberty Lighthouse Club also created a tree of respect that is being displayed in the main hall. Every leaf was contributed by the student body and has a different way of showing respect written on it. It helps to brighten up the hall in more ways than one. We have many other huge events right around the corner that are keeping the hallways buzzing. Next week, we will have our Battle of the Classes competition, followed by our fall pep rally, homecoming game, and dance. Our student council is hard at work with all the moving parts and are working closely with the amazing PTSN to orchestrate the best experience for the students. We are so fortunate to have such a generous and hard-working group of parents to assist the staff in executing this event. We are confident that this is going to be a memorable week to cap off the fall season. As you can see, Liberty is taking full advantage of the opportunities their teams, clubs, and classes have to offer. The weather might be cooling down, but things are just heating up around here. I appreciate you providing me with this platform so I could share some of our highlights with you. We can't wait to report back to you next month with even more happenings. Until then, take care and have a great rest of your week.
Great job, Eric. Thank you. And we appreciate you speaking tonight, filling us in on all of the wonderful things happening. And there is a lot of wonderful things happening in both of our high schools. And as both high school reps mentioned tonight, it is the end of the first marking period already at the high schools. I mean, it's hard to believe. September went by very quickly, and we're halfway already through October. So the school year is definitely moving quickly. October, as both high school reps also mentioned, it marks Anti-Bullying and Violence and Vandalism Awareness Week, and it also represents Red Ribbon Week within October. In all of our schools, you heard some of the activities and programs and awareness events that both the high schools have done, but that's also across our district. There's been a lot of things happening, wearing blue to stand up to bullying, being a hero, dressed like your favorite superhero, reciting this Stand Up Against Bullying pledge, morning announcements, and lots of other activities and assemblies to help our students move forward in understanding how to be upstanders and how to ensure that they are spreading the word of positivity within our schools and healthy choices for their bodies. So moving forward, I did want to also mention what both board reps mentioned as well, that Dr. Godleski and I have been meeting with both middle school and high school student council committees and their executive boards, and it's always a wonderful, wonderful experience, first of all, just to meet with them and hear about all of the wonderful activities that they're starting to plan for their peers, the initiatives they have planned, and how they plan to further connect students and engage students in school and activities, and their leadership roles and ways that they can have a positive effect on the rest of the students. So it's truly a wonderful opportunity to hear and work with them. We always give them a little initiative charge to ask them to work on and expand upon their leadership abilities, and so that when we come back in, we can hear about their further plans and things that they have done. So we'll be sure to report out after we go back and meet with them again. Other district information, you'll hear the Buildings and Grounds Committee report from the board that we did test 8 of our trailers and portables. We had a company come in and the reports have returned. Air quality in the ones that we tested, other than the ones that we had taken offline that we had found the mold in, the air quality was fine in those trailers and or portables. And if you remember, the trailers are not on a foundation, the portables are. So there's a distinct difference there. Many of them did come back and indicate some moisture in the floor. So there was a recommendation for some remediation. Obviously, you have moisture, you probably could have mold underneath those tiles. But I will say that this board has made a decision collectively to not put anybody back into those trailers or those portables this year. And moving forward, we do plan on either trying to sell the trailers and or discard of them and try to remediate some of the portables because they are in better shape that we could maybe in the future use for office space or storage. But it's time for those things to go. They're very old. So we will continue to move forward and to transition there. we are not going to have trailers moving forward, and we do need to do some planning for what does that mean in the future. We are beginning the strategic planning process. It is beginning with the first committee meeting tomorrow night. I do want the public to know and the board to know that we will report out after every meeting publicly at a board meeting to provide an update of the status of the committee and the work that they're doing. And we will continue that through the process. January, we're aiming for as a target to have a recommendation to the Board of Education for any changes. Tonight, we also have the public presentation of the academic state of our schools. We have our assistant superintendents here, Dr. Godleski and Mr. Rotante, who will be doing that presentation tonight and sharing the results of our standardized test scores. So I call them both to the podium.
Watch your step. Watch your step. Try it.
Okay, good evening. Tonight is our annual State of the Schools presentation. We'll be sharing some relevant data points, many of which represent achievement in a singular snapshot of time. As we begin, our first slide is the data picture of our shifting demographics in the Jackson School District. You'll notice at the top the June 2024 enrollment, but I also included the number of students enrolled in the district as of today, which is 7,379. While there are many subgroups represented for transparency, there's a few things that jump out on this slide that I would like to mention. One of those is the large number of multilingual learners in the district. This number has grown significantly, as well as a rise in the number of economically disadvantaged students that we serve in the Jackson School District. Lastly, I'd like you to take note that the number of students that have been in the district less than a year has also grown significantly. The growing transiency of our population is an instructional challenge, and all of these shifts require us to, in turn, shift our instructional practices to meet our current students' needs. Then we want to shift into the state assessments that are required. As a public school in New Jersey, we have a number of assessments that we are required to give our students. The first one is the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. We'll be sharing data on that today. That is tested in English Language Arts in grades 3 to 9, mathematics in grades 3 to 9, science in 5, 8, and 11. There's also the New Jersey GPA. It's the Graduation Proficiency Assessment, and that's required for juniors. And when that's given and those results come in, you also will see a public presentation. Another test is not for all students, but for students that have special needs in which the general state assessments are not academically appropriate. Those students would take the DLM, which is the Dynamic Learning Map. And lastly, our students who don't speak English as their first language and are not academically proficient yet in English take the Access for ELS test. And it's the score on that test that determines their inclusion in a multilingual program. While the required state assessments measure one moment in time, we as educators understand the importance of formative assessment. This is assessment that's ongoing and charts the growth and progress of our students throughout the year. Formative assessments also provide actionable data points that teachers can use to tailor instruction and meet the needs of their students to maximize learning and academic growth. I won't go through all of these, but as you could see in both English and Language Arts and in mathematics at the elementary school level, there are a number of formative assessments that the students are readily involved in. And even though it's the word assessment, it just becomes part of their learning, so it doesn't feel like a test. Like if they're on IXL, they're working, and it's adaptive. And then at periodic points in time, they'll take a snapshot to see the growth. And again, that's an adaptive program. There's screeners in here to determine if there's any issues in reading with regard to dyslexia, as well as a growth measure for foundational literacy, growth, and assessment. We assess writing. IXL is a program for language arts and mathematics. In mathematics, we do a math facts fluency to assess students' ability to accurately and quickly relate basic math facts which support their ability to do higher level math when they get to that point. And again, link at benchmarks. You'll see that a lot as in elementary, middle, and high school. It's a digital platform that's standards-based and really provides a lot of great data for the teachers to use when they group their students and when they are charting the growth in standards of their students. And benchmark testing in mathematics, that is part of the curriculum resource that we have in place, which is Envision. Okay. At the middle and high school level, we also have the IXL snapshots and the link at benchmarks, which I just explained, in both ELA, English Language Arts, as well as mathematics. With the high school, I also included AP tests. AP tests aren't formative assessments, they're certainly summative assessments. They are provided at the end of an AP class experience. It's a student's proficiency of rigorous college level content. So we're also choosing to share the AP scores with you this evening. So here's all the different AP tests that were taken. The first column after the title of the test, and that's the title of the course as well, is the number of students that took the test, and then in the next column, the number of students that got a 3 or better. So it's scored from a 1 to 5, and the 3 used to be the benchmark of when colleges might consider giving you college credit for that course. That's really dependent upon the college, but that was usually the cutoff point. So a 3 or better is a really hard score to attain. The mean score for last year's test isn't available yet, but for the year before it was a 2.96. So our students are doing quite well on these really rigorous tests, and it's something to really point out. 491 scores were a 3 or better. Really, really impressive. These are hard tests. I've proctored them. I'll turn it over to Mr. Ratante.
So as we get into the specific data from the assessments, each student, when they take their test, they receive a score between the numbers of a 1 and 5. The score of 1 means the child did not meet expectations. A score of 2 meant they partially met. A score of 3 means they are approaching, and then the goal for passing would be a 4, meaning they met expectations, or a 5 being exceeded expectations. So this is a very broad summary of every grade level for literacy and math, and how our district did, what percent of students met that 4 or 5 benchmark, and as well as what the state averages are in the same, the same exact tests. Every single child receives an individual score report, or an ISR. They are available for all parents. If you have a child in grades 3 through 9 that took one of these tests, or grades 5, 8, or 11 that took a science test, the individual score reports are available in your Genesis portal. Those individual score reports contain a great deal of data that's not just simply a number, but highlights areas of strength, areas of weakness, areas where your child did compare to peers, throughout the state. We're going to be sending home an informational memo tomorrow, just to make sure parents are aware of that, and let them know how they can access that data in their Genesis portal. A student could possibly have 3 individual score reports if they took both a math, a literacy, and as well as a science test. These are our scores for our science that's given in grades 5, 8, and 11 for our district and the state, both on those areas as well. And as Dr. Godleski mentioned, the DLM, that is for our severe special needs students, where that state assessment is really not an appropriate measure of assessment for them. It's an alternate measure of assessment that's given to those students in the areas of science, math, and literacy. And that test is scored on a 1 through 4 range, either emerging, approaching, at target, or advanced. And then you can see on the right-hand column the percentage of our students that were either at target or advanced on the DLM in both ELA and math. Science, the way the state reporting works is if you don't have a statistically significant number of students, you actually should not be reporting publicly, because the number is so small it would almost be easy to identify which kids' scores they got, because the number is not a significant number. We also when we receive our scores, they're broken out in many different areas. One of the areas they're broken out in is ethnicity data. And again, any statistically relevant groups as far as ethnicity data are reported here. So for ELA, math, and science, you'll see we're reporting the percentage of students in the areas of Hispanic, Asian, African American, multi-race, or white. Those are the 5 areas that we receive statistically significant data to see which how the percent of students did on each grade level. This is on the ELA, our English Language Arts test. This would be our mathematics test, the same information. This presentation will be posted online as well. And then you can see our science data for our 5 ethnic areas that are reported. And then additional subgroup data that we have. Again, the statistically significant areas are our multi-language learners. That's the blue bar you'll see there. Economically disadvantaged. Yellow represents our special ed, and green represents our student who have a 504. A 504 is a learning plan for students who are identified based on some sort of educational need that they may have. So you can see our areas for ELA, percentage passing in those 4 areas. And same information for mathematics, you can see there. And lastly, again, for science, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding expectations. So our goal with all of these scores, obviously, is we want to do the best that we can. We want our students to do the best they can. So the next few slides, we're going to kind of share with you how we're addressing some of the needs that really our scores represent on things that we do need to address throughout the district. So to begin with, ELA is back to Dr. Godleski.
At our elementary and middle school levels, we've adopted a new textbook series through HMH. It's a really, really robust program that has lots of resources. And this will provide for an opportunity for increased differentiation because the resources available will truly meet the needs of diverse learners that are in front of our teachers today. We've also updated the Read 180 program, which is a reading intervention program, and that again has been updated with a lot more resources, a lot more opportunities for differentiation, and data collection to meet students where they are to grow them. We are engaging in a lot of professional development as part of our textbook adoption through both HMH and Read 180. We've revised the curriculum to meet the new 2023 ELA learning standards. So we have a new curriculum that have some shifts in it. We will be engaging in interventions for language arts in both a push-in and a pull-out setting. And we will continue to use IXL for data collection and differentiated instruction. For English language arts at the high school level, we have added IXL to grade 9 to collect data and support differentiation. We implemented over the summer a New Jersey GPA skills class. It's also in the schedule to support students who need to pass the NJ GPA and to support them in the standards in which they were not proficient. We have provided and will continue to provide targeted professional development for the improvement of writing. Teachers are participating in the TCNJ Professional Development Series. At the high school level, we're piloting the HMH and SAVIS textbook series in English. We've implemented teacher coaches at both high schools to support new curriculum and technology and further improve instruction. We've implemented a new ELA curriculum, again, implementing the new 2023 standards, and we have incorporated Linkit benchmarks as mandatory formative assessments to collect data and use this as data for instructional planning.
And in the area of elementary and middle school math, one of the big things we have on the elementary level is our WIN program. So every day the students are broken up into WIN, which represents what I need, and we're able during that time to really address specific needs of students in academic areas for both math and literacy. In the middle school, we have a math lab program implemented, so students that are, again, identified as at risk or in need are able to get an additional math class during the day. And during that math class, we are able to pre-teach skills for the upcoming lessons. So they get exposed to it, they get some practice with the information, and then when they get to math class, it's a little bit easier for them to keep up and learn new material. Through our title grant funds, we've been able to provide some multi-language support programs after school. And one of the biggest things for middle school right now is we're adopting our new math series. It's EdGems. That really is enhancing the curriculum that we have. Just this past Monday during our professional day, we had a presenter from EdGems as well as our supervisor, Lisa Koch, working with all the math teachers from both McAuliffe and Getz to really focus on strong program implementation and strong curriculum development to make sure that program is successful in its first year. And as we've mentioned earlier, IXL will continue to be used because it does give us a great deal of data to help with differentiated instruction. On the high school level, again, IXL. We also this year have begun a NJGPA class. That is the required assessment that juniors need to pass to graduate. And juniors who did not pass that test last year, we have an additional class this year as seniors that they're able to take that really focuses on the math skills that they need to not only pass the test, but really be prepared to exit high school and be prepared for either college courses or career or whatever level they'll be attaining math skills in. We also will be doing a new math series in the high school level this year, our Envision Savis program. And we have also through a grant some targeted support teachers for identified students. Again, after school programs, different events like that that can really help our targeted students through either supports during the school day or after the school day. In the area of science, we're doing a lot of cross-level articulation between high school to middle school as well as middle school to elementary. We're really focusing on the science curriculum that we have in place, really focusing on a hands-on approach to science learning versus simply a textbook rote memorization learning. The NJSLA questions really do align to that, and we're using them on a regular basis in the classrooms as well. And we've also been reviewing scheduling and brainstorming ways to incorporate science. With all the mandates that we do have, sometimes certain subjects don't get the time allotted in the day that they really need for students to be successful. So we're brainstorming ways that we can kind of integrate science into our literacy program, into our math program, have some cross-level articulation there to enhance our time and instruction with science and social studies. So overall, the scores are definitely not at a level that we would like to see them at. After several years of severe budget cuts and constantly eliminating intervention positions, teaching positions, support positions, cutting after-school programs, cutting things like that, at a time when we have an extremely changing, diverse population in the town, it's really a perfect storm of challenges that do present our staff. So I do commend our staff tremendously for the work they do every day with the students. It is not an easy task, to do what they do on a daily basis. And I know, this, as I said, the scores aren't where we want, but I do commend the teachers for working very hard to try and improve them on an everyday basis. If any board members have questions for Dr. Godleski and myself?
Just give me like a summative of what IXL constitutes.
So the question was a summary of what IXL constitutes on a given day. So IXL, it's an individualized program where as the students work and answer questions, it adapts to the skills that they know. So if there's a specific skill and they're getting things right in that skill, it'll ask them questions maybe in other skills or more advanced questions in that. If they're struggling in a specific area, it may drop the level down and ask them some easier questions to try and build that skill. But the biggest thing with IXL is it does provide for the teachers individual data reports for every student so they can see how their students are progressing in whatever areas that they're working on in that class time. Any other questions?
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Thank you both for the very informative presentation. There's a lot of work being done right now. We appreciate it. So I did want to just comment about one thing that was said in the presentation. We had a professional development day and in-service day on Monday for our staff, and it was a full day of professional growth and presenters and teachers learning. And I had the opportunity to sit in on the literacy presentation and training for the new resources. And so impressed with the materials, the availability for teachers to be able to use data immediately to make instructional decisions, to really take individual students from where they're at and provide them the appropriate instruction based on their level. It will be so much easier for teachers to be able to look at data quickly and make those instructional decisions and have a plethora of resources at their fingertips to use while they do that individualized or small group instruction for the students. So it is going to be, I think, a big game changer for our teachers. And we've needed this for a while, as we've talked before about this, that we had to put some curriculum adoptions and resources off due to our budget, and we made it a priority for this year to make sure that those things happened. And so thank you both for leading those charges in professional development, our supervisors, and for our teachers for all the hard work they're going to be putting in. We do have some great room for improvement on these standardized assessments. Please remember they're one measure in one time during the year for students. The formative assessments that we have in place, and you saw the plethora of them, really give you a better, well-rounded picture of students. Our students go on to be very successful. You saw the AP scores. We have lots of successful students here, but we will continue to work on improving these scores as well. So just a few more things I just wanted to point out that were mentioned, and well, the board isn't able to see them, but there has been some pictures floating behind you, and Eric mentioned it in the Liberty report. So the donations for people suffering from the losses of the hurricanes, and Liberty and their incredible efforts to collect needed items, and the fact that we had Mr. Noble, who is a pilot, and Officer Conte fly those supplies today to North Carolina and deliver them right to people in need is amazing. And I can't wait to hear about the trip and the amount of lives that they have been able to affect positively with their 20,000 pounds of food and other donations. So an incredible effort there. We've had wonderful, successful band competitions, again, at both of our high schools already. Always impressed at what our band can do, and our incredible students and instructors. Again, we've had a student have an incredible opportunity to be selected at a national level to participate in a nationwide group. That happens to us frequently. I did want to point out also, on September 21st, we did have our farewell to Rosenauer. I know I've said it before, I just want to thank all of the people who participated in planning that. Incredible. If you can see the photo, Ms. Warren, it was up there. The amount of people that came just to reminisce, remember the wonderful things and experiences they've had was very touching. The picture really demonstrates, if you can see the number of people there. And what you don't see there is down the hall in the school, there were people standing. Outside the doors, outside, there were people standing as well. We probably had about 500 people overall. It was a beautiful day. It was bittersweet, definitely bittersweet, but it was extra special, I will say, to also have the Rosenauer family present. You know, the principal, Ms. Rosenauer, her daughter was there and her grandchildren. They spoke, and they also accepted the plaque that hung in the main area there. It was a bittersweet moment, but I do want to thank everybody who participated and who attended. So with that, I do conclude my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Permilli. At this time, we will have our standing committees report, and we have Buildings and Ground, and chairperson is Mr. McCarron. Please report.
Buildings and Grounds. Committee approval of the bid for the sale of Rosenauer property. Review the trailer portable report conducted by the environmental contractor. Assessment and proposed remediation work of the trailers, and proposed board resolution authorizing the sale of surplus trailers. Updates on projects by Mr. Bruno, the Holman HVAC gym rooftop unit replacement, We were just waiting for contractors to secure a startup date. JMHS pickleball courts and rebound wall was being looked at, and renovation paid for by local recreation improvement grant. Elementary playground installations, we went over capital projects for 24-25. Projects to be considered using $2.5 million infrastructure money from the state. Gets Water project, which will cost $800,000. Holman HVAC, Liberty rooftop units, paving at JMHS Old Transportation Building, radios and repeaters for Crawford, Johnson, Switlick Fire System, and Johnson Handicap Ramp. Some of the capital improvement projects that were completed district-wide were Gets installed 2 new check valves, an expansion tank for city water conversion from previous well system. Gets installed new electric outlets for kitchen equipment received from Rosenauer. Administration building had a new water bottle filling station installed. Memorial, a 3-inch plumbing pipe leak repaired above the ceiling at the Memorial Fine Arts. And Crawford Rodriguez repaired water float for the chiller cooling tower. Our next meeting will be on November 4th.
Thank you, Mr. McCarron. And while I have you, you're also the chairperson for the Enrollment Study Committee. Would you please report?
Yes, Enrollment Committee met on September 25th. Present was myself, Mrs. Barocas, Mrs. Gardella, Ms. Permilli, Mr. Baginski, Mr. Rotante, Dr. Godleski, and Ms. Irwin. We met to discuss the strategic redistricting and restructuring of the school district. We reviewed the building capacities and enrollment. We discussed the challenges our district faces with reduced state aid and inflation. We went over the increased needs of students with mental health, academic, and MLL. Discussed the aging facilities and keeping up with facilities with our financial challenges. We went over the decrease in enrollment from K through 12, discussed the increase in preschool enrollment. We started a timeline for strategic planning and restructuring of the district. We did referendum planning to occur simultaneously, reviewing architect assessments of our facilities, developed a committee structure, and we discussed draft survey questions, provided edits where needed. We're going to have a full committee meeting, which is set for tomorrow night, October 17th.
Mr. McCarron. We have no additional committee reports for this month. I need a motion for approval of the minutes, the closed session meeting, September 18th, 2024, the official board meeting, September 18th, 2024, business meeting.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron. Yes. Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the bill list.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion for approval of treasurers and board secretaries' reports.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to open public forum on agenda items only. We will hold another public forum during this meeting for other questions. This public forum will be for questions on the agenda only.
Motion. Second.
Please sign in and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on the topic until all others have been heard.
Is this on? I just have a quick question. Is the presentation on the assessment data part of the agenda? Or okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm Christine McGinley, and I have a couple of questions. So You noted that IXL, Read 180, and HMH are how we're moving forward. I have some concerns, particularly with Read 180. There's quite a bit of documentation out there that would state that that is not the optimum type of program for students. There are people who would say it has them on the computers too much. And yes, data collection's great, but I think what we might be suffering a little bit here in Jackson is that our kids are on the Chromebooks too much, that they need more direct instruction. They need more small group one-on-one with the teacher, rather than going on to the Chromebook to once again practice, be it literacy or math. The HMH, the new program that was taken on for literacy, did we not have an HM program prior to this new adoption? Like the literacy publisher, was it not?
It was not
We'll
HMH.
answer, we can answer all those questions as soon as you're done with your time. Yeah, ask all your questions, and we'll do it all at once.
Okay, all right. So that's some of my concern, that we've been using IXL, we've been using Read 180. I thought we had HMH type literacy program prior. So my concern is the data is pretty abysmal, in my opinion, and I get the demographics, but it's unsettling to think we're moving forward with the same stuff, even though the companies allege that they're better, but they're still the same companies. So that's a concern. Also, the committee that you said's meeting tomorrow, are any parents or community invited to that, or are those closed meetings still?
They're closed.
That's another question. And then my last question, I noticed that Dr. Taylor's retiring mid-year. It said her retirement date is January. Have there been any interviews for people to replace her? And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for all the questions.
I got
Ms.
it.
Permilli, would you like to respond?
Yep, and then I might ask, for Mr. Vitante and Dr. Godleski to join me in some of these responses. So I just want to make sure I get them all, okay? So first, the research on Read 180 and the materials that we're using. So Read 180 is revised, and in the program, there is a combination of instructional support that is, or instructional practices that are direct instruction to students, and then there are some technology pieces of it. There's a combination, and we work very hard to make sure that our students are not on technology too much. We also believe instruction is key. Those materials have all been revised, and there is, as much as there is research against it, there's also a lot of research for it. So I think it's like a lot of other things. There's pros and cons, and we try to work through those issues. But there is a lot of success that we see with that program as well, and we monitor the data frequently. In regards to the materials that we've selected, we have used Readers and Writers Workshop and Lucy Calkins prior. So we did not use the HMH series, which is why we're moving. Right, so I think you understand that. But before I move on to your other questions, I just wanted to see if there was anything you wanted to add to that, Mr. Vitante or Dr. Godleski.
You answered the question pretty well. The one thing I will add, though, is, we did have some Read 180 training as well on Monday, and one of the things that, now that we have HMH here, there's a lot of things, once our teachers get this year to really get a strong handle on the program, there's a lot of other components like science and social studies curriculum, like some of the things we're using Read 180 for, that can really envelop into our HMH program. So after this year, we'll be looking at a lot of those things to move into possibly for future years as well.
In regards to the Strategic Planning Committee meeting, those are closed meetings, but we do have representation of parents on that from every building. So we will continue to, after every meeting, report out everything that's been discussed at those meetings and make that completely transparent. And then in regards to Dr. Taylor, we just received her retirement letter, so we will be posting after tonight's meeting and begin that process for a search. And obviously It's unfortunate. We say congratulations to Dr. Taylor, of course, but obviously big shoes to fill. But I think those were all the questions, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Permilli and Mr. Ratanti. Any additional agenda-only questions? Seeing no one come forward, I need a motion to close public forum.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to move the official meeting schedule.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera, Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to move finance.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to move facilities.
Motion. Second.
Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to move programs.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera, Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. A motion to move students.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to move personnel.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella,
Abstain from 19A, yes to everything else.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to open the public forum on any topic pertaining to the Board of Education.
Motion. Second.
Please sign in and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on the topic until all others have been heard.
Hello again, Christine McGinley. I would like to know how parents were selected to participate on these committees, because I personally would like to be on that committee, the one about the student enrollment and decisions about what's going forward. I have some pertinent information I think that would be worthwhile in pursuing. The town where I grew up, West Orange, had 2 high schools. Years ago, had to merge into one because of changing demographics and lower enrollment. Interestingly, that same district in the earlier 2000s had to put forth a plan because of really rapid and incredibly high ELL numbers. So I think tapping into districts who have had to go this path or travel this path would be really worthwhile, rather than maybe necessarily recreating a wheel where other districts have already gone through things like this. But I'm keenly interested in participating in something like this, and I would like to know how parents were selected. Thanks.
Would you like to respond?
Sure. Hi, Ms. McGinley. So we did, first of all, we did send a survey out too, and I know you and I have exchanged about the survey, so that people could have input, even though they could not be part of a committee, and there were some text boxes there. Listen, I wish I could have as many people who are interested to be part of that committee, but it's very difficult to move. There's currently 42 members of the committee. And they were selected by asking for recommendations from our school administration of people parents they would recommend for the committee. And with that, we included some PTN presidents, we've included some other parents who would, expressed interest. I wish I could add everybody who's interested, but unfortunately that would make a very large committee and we wouldn't get the work done that we need to do. You have our commitment for full transparency of everything that is going to be discussed at those committee meetings will be also reported publicly at the board meetings. And if there is anybody who has additional input that want to make sure that we have it, we welcome that. You certainly can send that information to us. And as I said to you in my reply to you, I think that was last week, we are doing research and we are looking at other models. We'll do research that will be part of the study that we do and the information that we share to help make some decisions that perhaps need to be made for the district. So I appreciate you saying that. That is important to look at other models and other districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Permilli. Are there any additional questions? Seeing no one come forward, I need a motion to close public forum.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. We will now have board comments, starting with Mr. McCarron.
Just wanted to thank Ms. Permilli and Mr. Baginski for bringing us around and making time to give us tours of the schools. It was good to see the changes in the schools with everybody being pulled out of trailers and seeing it firsthand. It was great to see the student engagement in the schools too. So I just wanted to thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Have a good night.
I want to thank everyone for attending and viewing us live stream. Thank you, Mr. Noble and Officer Conti, for going to North Carolina to help those in need. Congratulations, Dr. Taylor, on your retirement and everyone else. And everyone have a safe evening.
I just want to speak to my fellow board members regarding something that I'm hoping we can hear about next month, which is in regards to the policy committee. And I really just believe that implementing or starting to develop a fundraising policy is important in our district, especially for athletics and activities. So I'll be excited to hear about that maybe next month. And I wanted to always thank the teachers who volunteer for our clubs and activities throughout elementary school and high school. There was, I couldn't count, but 3 pages of volunteer teachers, so that's pretty amazing. And I want to thank everybody for that. And additionally, I guess I'll call him Dr. Raymond Sr., who donated 2 pages worth of security equipment to our schools, and it's really impressive, and it's great to be part of a community like this.
Hi, everyone. I had the opportunity on Saturday night to attend the band competition at Liberty, and I just have to say it was amazing. I was able to see both of our bands, so I raced myself over there. I didn't want to miss 1 minute of it. I just thoroughly enjoy listening to them. If you have not gone to see them, then the holidays are coming up and we have lots of concerts, so it's worth the trip to our schools to see them. I'm a big fan of many of our clubs, but I'm definitely a big fan of our arts and especially our band. So thank you for the invite, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And thank you to everyone for coming out tonight, and for those that are watching online. Enjoy your night.
I just want to thank everybody as well. I want to echo the sentiments of everyone else. It's tough when you go last because you're just repeating everything, but I too went on some of the school tours, and it is always enjoyable to be in them, see our buildings, and see the kids. So that's always a lot of fun. And then obviously Dr. Raymond Sr., as you so fondly named him, that is amazing, and it is great to be a part of this community, and our volunteers are wonderful, and the hurricane relief as well. So everyone have a great night. Thank you for coming out.
So I want to also mention I got to travel some schools, and I want to thank Ms. Permilli and Mr. Brzezinski for having that and allowing that to happen. It was wonderful. I want to report that morale was high in the classrooms, both with students and the teachers. Students were thriving. It was high energy. And I really want to just take a second and thank the teachers and the administrators and the staff that go in every day and they give 100%, regardless of the budget cuts, regardless of the trailers being closed in the middle of the beginning of the school year. Our teachers and our staff, they bounce back so quickly that our students don't even realize it. And it's because of their hard work behind the scenes. You see us up here every month, but it's them behind the scenes that really make it happen every single day. So I just want to thank you all, and continue to do what you do, because you're what makes Jackson and our school district so great. So thank you, and thank you all for coming out, and have a wonderful evening. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
By acclamation, aye.